If we choose our life paths before we're born, why would we choose difficult ones? Because contrast is at the root of all our human experiences, so we'll know what we return to when we leave the body each lifetime. Today, we'll look at karma and contrast to understand why it's core to everything we want to learn. Hi, I'm Corbie Mitleid, and this is the Psychic Yellow Brick Road. The world is changing, and life doesn't have the spark it used to. So we look around and ask, where do I need to go to catch the magic again? You've found it. Welcome to the Psychic Yellow Brick Road, a weekly podcast that delves into the intuitive world, metaphysics, life purpose, and how to connect with the compassion of spirituality. I'm Corbie Mitleid, and I've been on the Psychic Yellow Brick Road for 50 years. I'm a certified tarot master, past life specialist, psychic medium, channel, and author. And most importantly, I'm an elder in the field, ready to pass on everything I've discovered to you. So let's hit that Psychic Yellow Brick Road where you can find the real wizards and avoid the flying monkeys. Soul plans, karma, and contrast. What is contrast? Contrast is when two things are so very different from each other that the differences are immediately noticeable. A white room will contrast with a black room. A barren desert will contrast with a rainforest. A sunny day will contrast with a stormy one. A healthy person will contrast with an invalid. Contrast is at the core of our soul plan experiences because we come from a place where all is one, all is connected outside of time and space. We learn a lot of core lessons in a body that is subject to duality, time, space, and separation from all that is. That is, until we remember that we are truly all part of the one. You can't know joy if there's no sorrow. You can't know peace unless you've experienced its lack, whether through worry, war, or chaos. In that sense, every soul plan contains the goal of contrast along with any of its other objectives. When we choose contrast as a major goal in our soul plan, it's probably part of our great study, sometimes called a grand cycle. Let's assume that a soul wants to study compassion. It may go through a series of lives where its life is full of love and kindness, both given and received. It may then go through lives where very little compassion is available from others, and it has to make its way in the world without the kindness and stability that compassion brings. The soul may then do a third series of lives where it has very little compassion for other beings or circumstances to study how that affects its own life situations. When the soul has completed this grand cycle of learning, it's brought back a true view of how compassion works in the material world. Has karma also been created in these lives, in the other matters? Yes, more than likely. But the grand cycle of contrast is the most important on the karmic road. Let's look at some examples. If a soul wants to examine the entire view around abundance and trusting the universe, it might have a series of lives like this. A life as a Benedictine monk, where abundance is relative, monks having very little in the way of material possessions. But the assurance that God has matters in hand as long as you believe the right way is very strong. A life as a stockbroker in the 1920s, where huge amounts of money made in the early part of the decade disappear like smoke in 1929, giving a very strong contrast around having versus not having. 3 successive lives in Russia. One is a member of the wealthy ruling class, one is a member of the serf class, and one in the communist Soviet Union where all is supposed to be equally distributed. Finally, perhaps a life in the American West in a First Nations or Native American tribe who believes that major celebrations should be held with a potlatch, where the celebrating party gives away virtually everything they own. If a soul wants to examine the true nature of courage, it might go like this. A life as a member of the European Crusader Force, where they fight Saracens believing that it is God's will and they are terrified of being sent to hell. A life as a Jew in a concentration camp, facing death after years of abuse at the hands of the Nazis. A person in Salem, Massachusetts, who points accusatory fingers at other members of the community because they are frightened they might be accused of witchcraft themselves. A person facing a terminal diagnosis of a disease at an early age. A person who, having the chance to die on the operating table after a serious accident, chooses to come back and live their lives in a very damaged body. Or perhaps a person who must choose whether or not to run into a burning building to save loved ones, with all of the ensuing consequences of guilt, injury, and possible failure. And if a soul wants to examine self-love and self-worth, these are life paths it might choose. A child who chooses a path not requiring education when the rest of the family has graduate degrees. A male member of a society that devalues the opposite sex as a matter of course. A person whose chosen career depends completely on other people's judgment of their worth. A person born into a society that as a whole believes that self-loathing and humility is the way to grace. A person born into a dysfunctional family that can only maintain dominance by cutting down the other family members. Or an orphan or child abandoned in its early years by parents who don't want it. Now, notice that the soul can come in on either side of the question, abundant or in want, in courage or in fear, in self-worth or self-judgment. How the soul deals with the setup of its life path, the scripting, blocking, and character development is what will bring the lessons back to the soul once the incarnation is finished. Contrast is guaranteed to be part of your life path. As well as the examples I've just given you, we could talk about power or curiosity or intelligence. Anything that has an opposite or contrast can be studied by the soul as a fascinating project. But all of the examinations work to bring the soul back to a better understanding of love and oneness. In the end, that's the one cosmic truth, and all of the contrasts that are experienced within a soul's incarnation are to assist that soul in truly, fully appreciating that which it experiences in the infinite, timeless embrace of the one from which all proceeds. If you're interested in discovering your own soul plan with a detailed look at the past lives that are affecting you this lifetime and keys for moving ahead in this life with joy and fulfillment, visit my reading section at CorbieMitleid.com, where the soul plan reading is described in full. I've been guiding friends and clients since 1973. I love showing you opportunities and how to grab them, where the tough stuff is and how to get through it, and handing you your toolbox through tarot and oracle cards, past life exploration, spirit guides and angelic conferences, and mediumship. My website, CorbieMitleid.com, is full of articles, blogs, where to find me for live appearances, and where to listen to me as I guest on other podcasts. There's a full menu of readings, from short burning questions all the way up to the jewel in the crown, my soul plan readings, which are based on the work I did with Robert Schwartz. Whether it's general questions about your life in practical terms, romance readings, business consultations, discovering your sentence of passion, or digging into that single challenge that has run through your life, you can find the appointment that's right for you. You know, your opinion matters a lot. So if you enjoy this, take a few minutes to leave a review. Word of mouth is key with podcasts, so share it with others. And if you really want to help make the magic happen, go find me at patreon.com. There's a tier called I Believe in You. And for just a couple of dollars a month, you can be an official roadie and help all the things I do. The podcast, the books, the classes, the videos, keep on coming. This has been Corbie Mitleid. And until next time, keep those ruby slippers polished, and I'll meet you on the psychic yellow brick road.